Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miss Roshumba, and I'm here at Shirley's Sugar and Spices with Miss Shirley.
Hello.
And say hi, Miss Shirley. So this is our second time of getting together and talking about the situations in our lives, in our community, that we find troubling. And so if it's not us that will be trying to solve it in our time, then who? So I brought the picture or the board of a rainbow of poems because this inspiration has been brought about by a good friend of mine that had passed away some years ago now. He was a poet, and he had his share of challenges in his time. He's written some poems that he's left with me, and I'll start the program off by reading one of them. This poem is called My People Hear Me. My people, hear me. There's something of significance you need to see. The power that be are planning to rob you of your liberty. These criminals in government are attempting to destroy our innocence. Do not expect any fair play. They think their corruptive systems are here to stay. They are fully aware that we have suffered and came from a very long way. However, we are built to rise. Our God is ever on our side. We collectively share in the motivation of pure, true spiritual pride. No longer will we be deprived. We have to update on a genuine style. Those values of something greater is inside. A black song says we shall overcome. Of course, we are the chosen one. Our grand productions of strengths are in spirituality. My people, hear me. On things of significance, we must agree. We must leave political darkness into the light. We are great winners of any fight. Correction. For our race appear to be quite dim. The quality of our thoughts are shown to be a priceless gem. I bid you all to claim your spot. You are as the sun that is extremely hot. Start preparing for a powerful movement this very day. Do not let anyone or nothing stand in your way. Loving people, hear me. Be of quality in all that you can be. Do you now see all that I see? Shea Early Laverne. All right.
That's a great segue into what we need to talk about today.
Yes.
The excellence.
Yes. The excellence. And
we are not showing.
We're not. And the other thing, Miss Shirley, is sometimes we believe that somebody's going to come and save us.
That's not, and that's false. It's a magical thinking.
Magical thinking. Because we are the one that we've been waiting for.
Right. God has endowed all of us with certain gifts and abilities, and we need to use them to our fullest intent.
Yes.
Yes. We're not doing that.
Yes.
And that's why we're in the predicament that we're in.
Correct. And, you know, one thing that I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen it, that sometimes we feel like we have to compete to get the job done.
Right.
You know, we have to compete to get the job done.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
We're on.
Hi, Miss Patricia. We're on air video talking. So you're welcome to listen in as we talk and go at it.
Hey, how you?
Yeah, so we like to compete for who got the best clothes, who got the best car, who lives in the best neighborhood. But can we compete to see who could be the resolver of the problems in our community?
whoever that stand for excellence.
Stand for excellence.
Excellence. I mean, excellence in everything we do. Even the ordinary person, crocheting, whatever it is, or whatever our gift is, we need to pursue it, not downplay it like it's not of any value. And I think we do that a lot of times.
Yes.
Is that we think that our gift, no matter what it is, you know, I think about a lot of times how people said my mother started out as a janitor. They called it a janitress. She rose to be a mental health tech.
Okay.
But she started as a janitress. She did it well.
Right, right.
No shame in good hard work.
Exactly.
None.
And, you know, and I like what you've said, because we have to make a living. But although we're making a living, we also must remember that we are still a people fighting to get out of the oppression of where they have put us as an object. So we have to distinguish the difference between fighting to put bread on the table and strengthening our families, our relationships, our children, the educational. That's a different fight.
Oh, it is.
And it requires strength that we, you know, but what I find over the years is that we've gotten caught up in believing that the fight is how much money we can have, how wealthy we can get.
Right.
And we've lost sight of that, my brother, my sister, I am your keeper and you are mine.
Right. Or doing things together. Richness of a family, of the simple things of getting together, going on trips together, seeing things. That's another thing that I applaud my mom. Well, she had a boyfriend that was way advanced, and he was a black man. He was from the South, but he was inquisitive. And I think on Channel 6 when they say, be more inquisitive.
Be more inquisitive.
That's what we need to do. When we go somewhere, we need to be like sponges. Soak up everything that we see. New experiences, places to go, things to do. It just, you know, don't have a negative opinion about what people do. I wouldn't do that, or I don't like that. I can't do that. No, we can do it all.
Yes.
We can do it all. Whatever we put our minds to, because what God has endowed us with, we can do it all.
And I like what you've said. And the fact that we are still here.
Right.
And we have not been extinct
Right.
like the Native Americans. We are still here after all that we've been through.
Right.
And so, you know, one of the things, and I'm glad you mentioned, the ability to go and travel and see different things in different places is so important,
It is.
especially for those of African American descent.
More than the others.
More than others, because I must say I wasn't born in this country, so I don't have the privilege to say this is the true home. But the blood and the tears and the sweat of African Americans ancestors is in this soil. And I've always been surprised that sometimes one limits themselves to, you know, local movie theater. You know, you don't go into the wilderness. You don't go to where the valleys are, the seas, to see what your ancestors fought for and build for free.
Right. That's so true.
So when you mention the importance of going out and seeing and going to different places and asking questions, that's a form of fighting for liberation.
It is.
To say,
Opens
I'm
your
not
mind
just limited just to
where
living
I am.
in the city, in the town,
The
in the
block.
ghetto, in the projects where you put me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We need to tell young people that when you go somewhere, ask questions. Be more inquisitive. That's all I can say. Channel 6 says it. They used to say it. Be more inquisitive. Be more. If it's a program and you've never seen whales, it's wonderful to look at it because you can learn something you can apply to your life.
That's right.
Survival skills of the you know.
Survival of the
Telling.
fittest.
That's right.
But, you know, so you are widening your horizon when you open your mind to know what the North America, you know, what it contains.
Right.
Even though the best place that I would say we should try to get there to visit is our motherland, Africa.
True. Yeah, we don't have a clue.
I do. I've been to a couple of countries there. You know, we know there are 54. Many of us don't know there are 54 distinguished countries
Yes.
in Africa.
It's not just one big
Continent.
It's a continent, but
Yeah.
they have a lot of countries within.
Yes. And it's so-called the second largest in the world continent. However, I would tend to say, you know, it's pretty much the biggest to me. And what I love about it is the division right down the center. Africa has so much uniqueness to it. So, you know, we must, if not in our time go, we must prepare our children to go. Because, you know, the world is shifting and changing, and you're not just limited. Because when you think about this country, it's built on immigrants.
Right.
I too am one.
Yeah.
You know, and because it's built on immigrants, it's, you know, one of the true owners of this country is African American. Because, you know, a lot of people will never own up to the fact that the black man has fought in every war since the conception of this country, along with the white man, against the white man, for the white man, and so forth. But no other people that have come after has claim and ownership like the African American man. And so it brings me back to the conversation about knowledge of self.
And if you
Whose
can't go to
responsibility?
Africa, you need to read about it. If you can't go, at least read about it will maybe make you want to go see for yourself. But you know, if you can't get there, doesn't mean you shouldn't know about it. You need to read about it. You know, get books on it. I mean, that's a whole nother. I guess when you say reading, it's like, how do you
knowledge of self?
Yeah.
Knowledge of self, because if we don't get knowledge of self, of us just being here and our story here, it's kind of hard to start thinking outside of here to Africa.
Because it was looked at as such a negative.
Yeah.
It was pumped in our heads that it was such a negative. Matter of fact, there was a division even when Africans came over here. Black people didn't want to be African or associated with Africans. Now it's reversed.
And you know what she just said about the division of our people not talking to the immigrants of African descent coming here and so forth. Well, you know, as we already know, that is part of the narrative that has been told to us. You know, when they write you out of history, or when they put you in history in this box, as like you are in a zoo for people to come from all over the world to see you subjugated and oppressed, for them to come and look at and come and get a better seat than you, that says that somebody is not teaching you your story. And we often say, whose responsibility is it, Miss Shirley? Is it our parents? And if so, we know there's a generation that has been mute.
Right.
But now that we are coming into understanding because of the media, are we talking to our children enough?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I constantly buy books that are relevant to the struggle. Audio books. There's all kind of ways today. We've got the internet. There's no excuse. We have so many different ways of learning. You can take it in bits and pieces. You don't have to take it all at once.
Right.
You know, so I mean, we really don't have any excuse to not even know where the continents are. I mean, a lot of us don't even know where things are in the United States. There's no, you know, other immigrants come from other countries and know more about our history than we do.
And you know, I'm glad you said that, Miss Shirley. Yeah. And that goes to show you that the integration that occurred in the late 50s and actually implemented in the early 60s has not been to our benefit.
Not at all.
At least that's my
It
conclusion.
hasn't. We thought it
You
was.
know, that's when the system said, oh, we have your children hostage for a good 6 to 8 hours in these classrooms without you. What does that mean now? That means we could take their minds and turn it upside down. So we are too trusting.
Right.
You
got to do
know,
your work.
yes,
You
we
have
are
to
too
do the
trusting to give the people that brought us here in bondage responsibility to teach our children.
And the trust that they will teach the accurate history. So it's our history. We got to teach it.
Exactly.
You don't need the school to teach our history. That way, when your child goes in there and they hear some information that's not correct, they have the boldness to say, raise their hand and say, well, no, I know, I read, give reference.
Yeah.
That way it goes through everybody in that classroom. It's an education.
But one of the challenges with that is if we ask our parents to educate us about our histories, oftentimes we find that our parents are pretty much unaware of our true history either. And because they're busy working, trying to make a living. And if we think of integration, it's been over 60 years since we've left our segregated schools and went into their integrated schools. And in so doing, we find that our parents don't know what happened. So we're not really having conversations the way we should at home. And because they're busy trying to make a living, it's hard for them to go and study Chancellor William, Destruction of Black Civilization. It's very difficult for them to read those books like Slavery and, I got the list, but not in my mind right now. But, there's many books on the subject. And so that's part of the problem.
And see, when like you said, the 60s, when there was a big revolution with my generation that said, well, we want Black history. And we want it taught it was in the colleges.
Black Panther times and during that time.
It was in the college. It was in the colleges is where we were fighting. But it wasn't in the high schools.
Right.
Because that fight, I guess they just figured you couldn't win that fight. But we did get Black History instituted, and now they're reversing it.
Yeah.
Taking it out to make us dumb again. But it's going to be put upon our shoulders.
And I like what you just said again, Miss Shirley, because you see, it's still happening right now.
Yes, it is.
Because from K to 12, they do not want to talk about what happened to the African people other than you are descendants of slavery.
Right.
And based on that, when you really want to get deep into it, you have to be able to have gone to college, because it's college that they will have the critical conversation.
Right.
But if you don't know, if the African American children don't know the fight and all of that to get there, and then they don't go to college, then they'll never know it. Because although you mentioned that we should go to technology, technology has so many different fronts, so many different opinions, and so many fiction and all kinds of things going on.
I'm not talking about the discussions, but I'm talking about the actual ebooks or the documentaries. Channel 6 you can look at the documentaries that you missed. Things like that.
Okay.
That are factual.
All right.
Not the conversations come after
Right.
you're educated.
Right.
Because you really can't talk
because
you know what you're talking about.
We hope to be on the internet with this conversation, and I hope that you will listen to us and think that maybe we're making a little sense.
We don't know everything either.
No.
I'm still learning things about Black history that I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's so vast.
Well, and that's the problem, because in American educational system, if you could write us down to just descendants of slavery, isn't it any wonder why we are wanting to become them by the way we wear our hair and, the bleaching of the skin? I don't know if it's well known here, but it's very well known in Africa and in the Caribbean, the bleaching of our beautiful melanin skin. The lighter being the brighter and all of that. So knowledge must be examined and respected and taught in the home. Right. We should not be freely giving it away. But again, our parents oftentimes don't know.
Yeah, or they don't want to tell you because they don't want you to buck the system. In other words, they don't want you interrupting the teacher about some facts because that'll be a problem. I think there's like the old people. Yeah. They didn't want to talk about it because they didn't want you to get in trouble. Because you would talk about it. They knew that they took stuff to their grave. And the reason why they did that was to protect the future generations, but
Right.
it's like an oxymoron. It's,
Right.
you know, I was just looking at something on Channel 6 the other night, and you watch Channel 6 all the time.
Yeah.
When I didn't know that they had a group called the Deacons,
Oh.
and the Deacons were a group in Mississippi that got tired of taking that stuff, and they were going to bucken up against the Ku Klux Klan. Who knew? I thought that no one raised, you know, and all the things that they went through
Yes.
in Mississippi, just learning that to let you know you don't want to go back there. But you have to know, and what they say, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you've been or where you come from, you know, you don't know where you're going.
Exactly.
Well, we could go right back there, but not knowing what already happened.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we're having this conversation. We don't profess to be any high scholars.
No way.
But if you think of those high scholars, they've been trained to omit our story in the most important time when it's valuable, K to 12.
Right.
You know, because if you don't get it from K to 12, then when you get to college, if you get to college, you're behind. Because then you're going to want to become a pharmaceutical or an engineer rather than someone that says, I need to be a teacher because I need to be able to teach them, if not in the K to 12 time, on the weekend. And, you know.
I was going to say, there is a book, I don't have it in like a memory.
Yeah.
This black man wrote this book about the teaching of black boys from the time of kindergarten
Jawanza Kanjufu.
Yes.
Jawanza Kanjufu.
To 5th grade, and then 6th grade, all stuff, everything turns around.
Right.
They become afraid
Yeah.
of that young man. Before that young child was adored.
Yes.
And then it got to the 6th grade where they became a man and they got feared and they stopped teaching them. Wow. That happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you see it all the time because if you teach the black youth, especially the black male, to be educated and strong, then who will he rival?
He's threat.
He will rival an oppressive system that was built on his shoulder. They will not be able to man him in the prisons. You know, the prisons are there as privately owned for a reason. And so I don't take what we're doing lightly. And I know, Miss Shirley, you don't take it lightly either. You know, so what we're doing here is to do our part to show that we're trying to, our will be elevating. You know, because if we think about black children, boys, girls, men, women, they come from black women, joined together with some black man at some time, place and time. And that I don't take lightly, because what they have done over time is turned us against each other.
Right.
So I could say I have children, but I look around and don't see that I have man. So who do we blame for that? Who do we blame for when our men don't recognize us no more? Don't think that we are no more valuable. We, the women, the ones that way back in time, when it was a rape that brought you forward. It was a rape, not consensual sex, consensual love. We weren't allowed during those shackle times to have consensual love. But yet, we moved the race forward.
And we still loved our children.
And we
that
still,
was from those unions.
Yeah, exactly. Even though they sold them from us. So we're coming up from a lot of pain. And so when we talk about the education, it's not just to say who invented what, but it's talking about our journey to now. To now see our people laying at the side of the road like trash. Miss Shirley, that's one of the things that brought me to having this conversation on a weekly basis. It's because it seems like our lives are no longer valuable.
Well, we don't value. I mean, you have to, somehow they've lost value in themselves. You know, through the pressures of life, the loss of hope, no vision. When there's no vision, the people perish.
Correct.
That's so true. But if you don't have a vision or you don't see a way out of the situation that you're in, you devalue yourself.
Correct.
And you don't feel like you amount to anything or you're important to anybody.
And
what do you exist?
Yes.
But you don't thrive.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
you're no benefit to society.
Correct.
A lot goes into that, and then mentally you just give up.
You give up.
Because it's so much easier just to give up.
Well, it appears to be easier, but it's okay if you give up and you know that the person that's going to catch you, your children, whoever loves you, but we don't have a community to catch those that give up. So what we see is the result of it on the streets, on the bushes, under overpasses. Like, I wouldn't even say like dogs. I would not even say like dogs, because those dogs don't dare get treated like that.
Not at all.
So I think we all have a responsibility. You know, I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it for we. We have a responsibility to help those that have gone silent.
That just can't help themselves.
They've gone silent. They cannot help themselves.
Yes.
So,
we are our brother's keeper.
we are our brothers and sisters'
Yeah,
keeper.
brothers and sisters. I like that. Yes.
And I just, we're getting ready to close, unless you wanted to say anything more, Miss Shirley.
No, just everybody, just don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
And do your part.
Do your part.
Do your part.
Yeah.
And fight till the very end.
Right.
It's not about our, accumulation of things, because when that day comes, no things can't go with you.
That's right.
And you're going to be asked the question, did you do the best you can?
Right. Did you?
Yes, did
Help
you?
pull someone up like here along the way.
Exactly. You see?
Yeah.
Ah.
And she braced herself because it was going to be heavy.
Yes, I am
So
my
you
brother's.
can't just stand up and do it. She braced herself, so it's going to be heavy to pull
That's
them
right.
up.
That's right. So we are at 24 and Florin in Sacramento, California, at Shirley's Sugar and Spice
Which is located
Shop.
in Florence Square.
Located in Florence Square. And every first and third Saturday, it's African Marketplace. So a lot more of us get together and we buy and sell, share, laugh and talk, and show what it means to be one
In the community.
in the
yes.
community. But in her shop, you can find incense and oils and lotion. And tell them what you can find in your shop, Miss
You
Shirley.
can find muscle relaxers.
Muscle
for your-
relaxer.
You can find goat milk and honey lotion. You can find foot cream for your feet. You can find hair oil for your hair.
And most of all, you can find knowledge and love from Miss
community.
Shirley and
Yes.
community. So we thank you for listening. We don't profess to be professors and high intellects, but we profess to have a love in our heart and a responsibility as Black women doing our part in the community
And we are mothers.
and mothers. Asheo.
Uh-huh.
Amen.